getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate. The values of our country and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate, marching on these streets of blood.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard, doing the show alone today. I messaged Steve to say, hey, do you want to call into the show today? And he has a message back. It's 9 a.m. here, so, 9:10 here, but yeah, let's see, Texas, I think 2 hours behind, so it's like 7:10. But he usually gets up early, so we'll see. Maybe he'll message as we're doing the show, and I can call him, but just wanted to check in with him and see how things are going. And he comes back next Saturday, I believe. So that'll be good after next week. Get Steve back in here and try to do a better show. It's, like I said, it's tough doing just a show myself. And it's interesting, though, because the show that I did on Wednesday with Donna got like the most views at the fastest rate of any show we've done. So apparently if myself and Steve were better looking, we would maybe get more people. As I joked on the show with Donna, that it's a much better looking Steve Morris sitting over there. But that was a really good show. I hope a lot of people watched it, just to kind of give an insight about some of the things happening in Newport with the school, positive things and negative things, and things we're trying to do to fix behavior issues and everything else. So I think that was a great show, and we definitely want to get Donna in probably more often, maybe once a month or something, just to, hey, what's going on, what's new. And I mean, me and Steve talk about stuff all the time, but it's nice to hear it from her, the one that's in charge of, everything. And I know from my experience with her, whether it was the board or just in general as a parent, like if you have an issue reaching out to her, she gets back to you, and she's not always going to give you the answer you want, but unfortunately it's not always the answer you want that's going to be the truth or whatever. But she's been great with that, and I've been very impressed with her and the transparency. And like I said to her, like, for me, the most important thing is the fact that you acknowledge the issues and want to fix them, where previous administration denied all the issues and made you feel like a fool if you thought there was issues, and come to find out there was way more issues than I even knew about. But so I think that was a great show, and we had huge numbers on that, and so I appreciate all the viewers that are watching and giving me feedback. I get feedback all the time for different things going on in town, and it's good. Keep it coming. It's very valuable. And if you don't agree with me and you watch the show and you're like, hey, I don't think that's happening, please reach out, because I need to hear that too. If you feel that the town's not as messed up as we think, or whatever, just please reach out to me. And I take all the opinions of everybody, and I try to use that, as anyone should. So I want to thank Sunshine Realty for sponsoring the show, and also Twin State Paving. If you're selling your house, you want to buy a house, reach out to Teresa Sherman at Sunshine Realty, and she can help you out with that. Or if you want to get some paving done, especially this summer, I would jump on that soon, just because I know it fills up and, kind of pushes you out. I'm sure there's plenty of spaces to, fill you in. But if, you don't want to wait too long, it's tough if you get into July and you're like, hey, I think I want to pave my driveway. It gets very tough, because I know how busy they are during the summer. So, reach out to either one of those if you're needing any of those services. Good people, local business. And for me, that's what it's all about, is supporting local businesses. So I want to talk about the selectmen meeting from Monday night, but I want to talk about it towards the end of the show, just because I want to talk about some really good things that have happened this week, or things that are happening, just to tell people about first, so we can get through that. And then I've got some interesting things with that. I want to, selectmen meeting. I really wanted to do a show Tuesday just because of the selectmen meeting and some things I saw that were irritating me, but I didn't. Here we are. So maybe I've calmed down a little bit too, and so I won't be as critical. But big thing that happened in town yesterday was Recycle Percussion, um, Chaos and Kindness, and Scarlett Lewis, which is from the Choose Love organization. Scarlett lost her son at Sandy Hook. He was murdered, as she says, and I think that's the way it already should be said, that anyone that was lost in a school shooting was murdered. I think that's important, that it's not just it's just the number of a school shooting, or no, that they were murdered. And so she teamed up with Recycle Percussion and Donna and others to like put this whole thing together. And originally it was supposed to be at the Opera House, but because of construction happening at the Opera House, they had it yesterday at the high school. So during the day, the middle school kids all got to see like Recycle Percussion. They did their whole thing, and then they came back. There was 458 tickets or whatever they gave out for free, no charge to any resident in Newport, and this was just exclusively for Newport people, because that's what we wanted. We wanted it to be a Newport event. We wanted it to be, for the kids and the parents and everything in Newport. So there was no charge. There was a few different sponsors, and I don't have that list in front of me, but if you see that list, please support those businesses, and thank you to those that did help reach out to make this happen. But it was a huge event. Fortunately, I had tickets to go, but it started at 5:45, and at 6:30 I had a zoning board meeting last night, and it was kind of an important meeting, and it was a tough one to kind of go between. And my daughter Lydia said, "Well, they're going to talk in the beginning for a while before they get into the show," and I was just like, there was a track meet happening because I was there earlier, for a meeting, and I was like, this parking is going to be a nightmare, and I'm going to be late for my meeting, so I decided not to go, and I hated it because I really would have liked to have gone, because I strongly believe in their message, and those guys do a lot of great things. So anyways, my wife went, and our 3-year-old and Lydia, and obviously, our cousin Kara and their kids went, and Rachel and Egg, like so many people we know obviously went, and it was a great time. I seen a lot of pictures on Facebook, and I guess my 3-year-old had like so much fun. She was dancing, and we bought some drumsticks, and they signed them, and they're just a really great group. I'm sure everyone knows who Recycle Percussion is. I believe they're like the first ones. They won, I think it was America's Got Talent. It's kind of like the start, which it's been quite a few years now, and honestly, they're solely like responsible for their success because they're constantly out in the community doing things, and they do that show Chaos and Kindness, and so they created their own hype and to get out their message, which is just love, caring, kindness, all these things that are important and very much lacking in today's society. So it was a great event. I wish we could do one of these once a week with different groups because I think it's that important to get a positive message out there, and then hopefully kids can, see the story, see, hey, okay, this kid came from an alcoholic family and he vowed to never touch alcohol and drugs and never has. It's not where you come from. It's not where you start in life. It's where you finish, where you continue to go. Donna had shared, our superintendent shared some very personal things on the show on Wednesday, about her life. And those are tough things because it's tough to share those things, right? Like it's a vulnerable spot, and to say, hey, I was on welfare, and I was pregnant at, 9th grade. And like people look at those like, oh, such negatives, but we got to look at the positive. And like her husband says, like she could be the poster child for welfare. It's the purpose of welfare was to assist you in a bad time to get you out of that and then successful. And so I really appreciate her sharing that story. And, so it's been a great week as far as these things in Newport, a positive message, and trying to, help bullying in schools and help just kids to get along. It seems like kids don't get along like they used to. It's weird too, because they talk about COVID and COVID played a big role in this, which I don't disagree that COVID played a role because for 2 years things got completely messed up in every kid's life out in the whole country. But it feels like it's more than that. Like kids seem meaner nowadays than they used to be, and I'm sure a lot of it's social media because, like we've talked, like if you say things to someone online, it's not the same as saying it to their face. Most people don't have the courage to walk up to you and be like, "Hey, I think you're blah blah blah." It's usually, I'll just say it online because I don't have to face that person, and that's changed our society. Where when I grew up, if I was running my mouth about a kid, there was a chance that kid might come over and punch me in the face. So it was like, do I want to get punched in the face? No, so probably won't say anything. Nowadays, it's this like keyboard warrior hiding behind the curtain of, I'm here, I can say anything, and I don't see the effect it has on that person that I'm saying it to. And it's definitely a downfall in our society. And I don't know the fix for it. I really don't. I don't believe in banning things. I only supported banning TikTok for the sake that it's owned by a Chinese company, and they've said that they're literally spying on every citizen and everything. But then they go to pass a bill for that, and they add in a bunch of other stuff, which is taking your rights away. So we can't even support that bill now. So, yeah, I don't know what the solution is, and oftentimes I don't. I just want to bring the issue forward to people, and then people hopefully can be like, "Oh, hey, well, we tried this, we tried that," because I certainly don't have all the answers. I can tell you that, but I care and I want things to change, and I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's what most people want, is just, we want things to change. So, a great event for Newport to have Recycle Percussion come out and Scarlett Lewis talk about her whole story, and the events of that. Very very important thing. I believe NCTV was there and recorded this event, so you should be able to watch it on, if you go on their website or Facebook. You should be able to find it that way too. But you should be able to watch the whole thing from last night, which I want to do when I get a chance, because I didn't get to watch it myself. So check it out. I think it's a great thing. If your child didn't go there last night and watch it for whatever the reason, you always could put it on, like, hey, we should watch this together. I just feel like it's important. People need to understand that words have meaning and effect on people, and some people it affects more than other people, and we just kind of got to get along the best we can. I mean, we're all in the same situation here. I mean, completely. It's just, we all go through the same struggles. We all fight for different things at different points in our lives, and some of us are more successful at getting through it, and some of us aren't, and we all need help at times. So it's a great cause, and I'm so happy that they came here and kind of kicked off this this event, and I know there'll be more stuff to come to keep building off of this to better our community. So one thing I wanted to mention, because I was proud of him, was Emilio got honor roll this past quarter, and so he was kind of, I think he might have been surprised too. I was like, "Oh, hey, Emilio, you're on honor roll." So, but he's been trying, except for his one instance with his cheating on tests, which I think was this quarter, not last, but it was this quarter, not last, but which just shows, like, kids make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. The kids need to understand those consequences, and because without consequences, what do you have? We've talked about this a lot on the show, and it's a conversation we need to have a lot more, is the fact that states tied everybody's hands so that, if kids are under 17, there's not really any consequences for most of their actions. And like, they'd have to actually commit horrible crimes before they finally be like, "Oh, well, we're going to try you." And there's so many steps to go through, and it's just crazy. And then these poor kids, are going to get out into, they're 18, they get out into the real world, and if they do this, they're going to end up in jail. And so the state's quest to not give kids records and not, get kids in the system at a young age, like, you're not helping them out, because if they mess up and they're under 18, yes, their records are sealed. It's not going to affect the rest of their life. But if you safe space them their whole time through, until adulthood, and they do things that would normally get you in trouble, like if they stole, or they, whatever they're doing, okay, or they're doing drugs, vaping, whatever the situation is, how is taking consequences away now going to help them in the future, when in the future their consequences will actually be consequences? Because you're 18, it's like, yeah, well, we don't care anymore. You're not a child anymore. So here, now you're going to go to jail if you did this, or you're going to be fined. You're going to, like, whatever happens. We're doing our kids a disservice by not having consequences for your actions. I mean, hello, we all grew up, there was consequences for every action, and there's consequences today. you don't go to work today because you just don't feel like it, well, you can lose your job. And so there's a consequence. Everything has a consequence, and everything has a reward if you work hard. And we're not teaching our kids that. I don't know, it's crazy. And it's so tough and frustrating as a school board member because our hands are so tied on so many things where I feel like, no, this is just how we do it. And, I think with the current administration and our board and everything, there are some things we're just like, no, we're going to crack down on this. We're done with it. So I think that's really good. And we could use all the community support possible. You can support by sending emails to any of the board members or even the superintendent, like, hey, I really appreciate you guys are trying to tackle behavior. We also agree, because we typically hear the other side of the thing, like, my child has a right to be here. And that's the ultimate. Doesn't matter. You can't take the right away. Well, so don't the other 20 kids in the classroom. And your child doesn't have a right to take 20 kids' rights away and destroy their education because your child can't behave in class. That's not how this system works, right? They have a right to school. Yes, 100%. I agree. But they lose that right when they destroy the education for other kids because they can't behave or whatever else is happening. Everyone in prison had rights before they took the rights from someone else, however they did, whatever they did. And then they went to jail as the punishment for that. And then they get back out of jail at some point if it wasn't a horrible crime like killing someone or whatever. And then they get their rights back. But you just can't say, well, sorry, my kid has a right to go to school, so we don't care what they do during school. Like, no, that's not how it works. Parents need to get more involved. So much of an issue is parent involvement. I really hope with like last night with the recycle precaution, like we can get more parents involved, and as a school we can start doing more things to get parents involved. I know, like me, Steve, like we want parents involved. I would love to have 100 people show up to every school board meeting. I'll stay there until midnight every meeting if need be to listen to people or hear their issues or their compliments about things happening or whatever. Like that's the whole purpose. I'm on the school board. I was voted on the school board to represent the town and to the kids in the school to do the job. And, if you're not there to do the job, then I don't know why you're there. And that goes for all boards in town, which we'll get into a little bit later. But so, yeah, some good things happening. Really appreciate, the fact that this all came together. And, it was a pretty big task. It's been happening for a little while behind the scenes to make it happen. And then we had this last minute change where we had to do it at the school because the opera house wasn't available, which threw a pretty big loop. It was a tough fix, but huge shout out to all the staff at the school and the SAU and the custodial staff, like all the people that came together to pull that event together. It was a big event and it took a lot of people. So shout out to all of them. They had to label all the chairs because the tickets were numbered so that they made sure they had the seating they needed and they pulled it off. So shout out to all the hardworking staff at the SAU and at the school and custodians and all those people. I really appreciate it. A couple cool things I saw, which we'll talk about this one first because it kind of goes right to like this helping families and different things. So I've never heard of this before, but I reached out to the people before the show and said, hey, I've never heard of you. What's your deal? And basically, would you want to come on the show and talk about, what you do and, what your thing is. So it's called New Hampshire Grand Families, Inc. And so what it is, and I just want to read it from here. She said, good morning, Tim. The New Hampshire Grand Families is a nonprofit organization designed to help what we call second-time families. So anyone like 45 and over 45 that takes in other person's children or a child or children, regardless of the relationship, to avoid that child going into foster care. We find so many grandparents, uncles, aunts, etc. are facing this more and more often. There is almost no place for these people to go for any help or for any kind of help. We're there to support these families by helping them with extra monthly food costs, care, whatever they need. So it's a great thing. And I'd like to have them come in at some point and really talk about this because I think it's just another thing we can do to help out our community. So tomorrow, this is what brought this whole thing about is So from 11 to 3 tomorrow, at the rec center, they're doing invite you. So New Hampshire Grand Families invite you to their first annual Family Community Day, and it's at the rec center. Like I said, 11 to 3, and they've got tables including face painting, decorating, superhero capes, mask, cookie painting, sand art, and some other different things. We have hot dog, soda, and other snacks, available for purchase, and it's just come and enjoy, various free children's activities. So I think that's a great thing. So if you aren't doing anything tomorrow, you're looking like, hey, what can I do with the kids? This would be a really good event. 11 to 3, right at the rec center. Just another thing too that this group is hosting it, but it's something else that is at the rec center, adding to the to our community. So if that's something that you're interested in going to, definitely check it out tomorrow. I may even swing in and check this out if I have time. I'm not sure what my schedule's like tomorrow, but I thought this was really cool, and and every small kid loves like face painting, and this is a good way to raise some awareness. And then, like I said, I'd like to get them on the show at some point soon, and let's talk about more about what they do and how we as a community can help them in their quest to help out. So definitely, if you're available tomorrow, 11 to 3, and you want to bring your kids and check this out, there's no cost, and it's right at the rec center. So it's called New Hampshire Grand Families Inc. You can look it up on Facebook, and they don't have a ton of information up there, and that would be one thing I'm going to suggest to them. It's like, hey, just put more information on there. So because I wouldn't have had to reach out and ask them, like, hey, tell me more about you if you had more information on the Facebook page. But at the same time, it'll be good because I'll hopefully get them on the show and we can raise some more awareness for that. So, and kind of like in line with that. So yesterday I had a wellness committee meeting, and I've been ragging on Steve for like a couple weeks because I knew I was going to have to go to this committee, and not this bad committee. Honestly, I may just tell Steve like, hey, just leave me on it because it wasn't bad at all. But both me and Steve had issues during COVID with like the school nurse and this real science and this whole thing, and she's not a bad person in any way, and she was just doing what the system or whatever was telling her to do at the time. And so I don't hold any grudges, but so I told Steve, I'm like, dude, are you seriously gonna put me on here? Because I don't believe in CDC guidelines or any of this because of just the things I've seen. They're all for sale. It's just a matter of how much money someone gives them. Then suddenly it's like, oh, take this vaccine we haven't tested and this whole thing. And so, but it was a good meeting, and these are open to the public too. They post them, and yesterday we just talked about adding some different healthy snacks to the school store. And the cool thing about the school store is it's run by the business class that's in the CTE. So it's an opportunity for kids to run a little business. And it's a school store. And so we're talking about some different like healthy options to, get in there. And obviously something that will sell, because if we're selling some, tofu or something, it's probably not going to sell. I personally buy stuff, but some more healthy options, whatever that is, less sugary stuff, whatever. So, good conversation. But one thing that came out of the conversation is the representative from the health center who was involved with the committee. And I can't remember her name nor the title she had, but, she had said that during a survey they did with I think it was 19 communities. So the survey was given to people at New London Hospital, the health center, I think just those two. But serving roughly 19 communities around us in the survey was about food insecurity. And Newport had the highest number of people with food insecurity, which caught me off guard. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of things are catching me off guard lately. I don't think it's an issue in our community, and then it's like, oh, well, I know food insecurity is an issue. Hunger, whatever you want to call it, food insecurity is now the term people use, politically correct term, whatever, which is fine. I don't have an issue with the term, but I know we have a food pantry, and I know there's families that suffer, and we've talked many times where, Wednesday show, kids going on, vacation this next week, and some of these kids oh, how am I going to eat? It's a real thing, and it's really happened in Newport, and honestly, it breaks my heart and makes me sick at the same time, because I feel like if more of us knew in town this stuff was happening, we would do something. I know I would. If I had a kid come up to me like, yeah, I have no food in my house. Okay, then let's go to the store, because that's not okay with me in any, like, it's not okay. And if I couldn't afford to help them, then I'll find someone that can, because I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of successful people that would certainly help causes like this. So this is something I want to make sure we get more involved in over the the next couple months, to kind of try to fix this. And there's some programs we talked about and stuff yesterday, and like one program that stopped that we're looking at trying to get going again. And I just couldn't believe it that Newport was, out of the 19, I believe she said 19 communities, we were the most food insecure town. And I just, we talk about socioeconomics, and I hate talking about it, because for me, I look at it as just an excuse. Like, I grew up, I grew up poor. I had stuff, like my parents, we didn't ever go without food. So I've never had that issue. I had clothes, like I had those things, but it's still like lower class. I wasn't middle class, upper class, or anything like that. I'm obviously better off now than I was, as a kid. And, but I just I can't imagine as a kid, like, not having food and not knowing, like, oh, am I going to eat tomorrow? So I'd imagine anyone watching the show is going to think the same thing. Like, that's not okay. How do we fix this? Because it's not okay. And I wonder too, like, because there's all these things. There's a food pantry. There's like food stamps, different. Like, how are these kids still not getting food? And I don't know the answer. And I'm sure every situation is completely different. But I guess the why doesn't really matter at this point as much as, okay, how do we fix it so that these kids have food? Like, that's why me and Steve did that 5K last year and said, hey, let's raise money for the snack program for the elementary school, because we heard that was an issue, and I just never knew that before. So we raised, I think it was like $450, and then me and him matched it, so it was like $900 for that program. And then we'll probably try to do something again this year, because it's crazy just to think that we have kids in our own community. Like, we know as a country we have people that are homeless, we have especially veterans and all these things, but like our own community, like, that hits home. That's like right here. There's kids that don't know, like, they get their food at school, and other than that, it's like, I might eat or might not. Like, that's just not okay. So definitely something I want to talk more about as time goes on. A couple other events, a couple new ones on here that I found. One is also tomorrow from 10 to 2. Spring cleaning should include your medicine cabinet. It's a DEA National Take Back Day. And so in Newport, it's next to Shaw's outside. There'll be someone there, usually the sheriff's department, whoever does this. And I don't know who's doing it, and I guess it doesn't matter. It's an opportunity for, if you have extra medication hanging around your house that is old or you don't need anymore or whatever, it's a good place to take it there, give it to them, and they dispose of it. It's never good to flush these things down the toilet, because that chemical ends up in the wastewater treatment plant, and so they say it's not good to do that. It's just these companies like dispose of them, and I don't know exactly how they dispose of them, but in a correct manner. And if you're in Claremont's doing one right at the CVS. So either way, if you're in Newport, outside of Shaw's from 10 to 2 tomorrow, if you're in Claremont or you're heading to Claremont, whatever, CVS in Claremont, which is next to the fire station, same thing, 10 to 2. It's a national, take back day. And we've seen this a bunch of times, usually do it out in front of the court on Main Street here in Newport. The sheriff will be out there, but this is, if it's the exact same event, but same exact thing. So really think about that. If you have a bunch of meds kicking around your house, and it's like, hey, I don't use these, or these are old, which I could use this too, because we always find like all these old meds, and like, well, these are no good anymore. Here's a good way to get rid of them, instead of throwing them in a trash, or someone could find them, or flush them down the toilet. Like, that was a real common thing, that we'll just flush them down the toilet, and not thinking, oh, well, I guess like flushing those chemicals down the toilet, then it goes into your septic, or it goes into the city sewer, and it's probably not good for that either. So here's obviously no charge. Just bring your meds. They don't ask questions. Doesn't matter what the med is. Doesn't matter. They put it in their steel box or whatever and you walk away and piece of cake. So if you have extra meds kicking around, take advantage of that. The other thing that I probably should go to this. Steve would probably be like, nah, Steve probably wouldn't go to this, but he might. So Thursday, May 4th, 5:30 to 7:30, there's a vegetable gardening workshop at the Richards Free Library. So Steve's pretty good at growing stuff. He really is. I helped him in his garden. He left last year for a little while, and I had to harvest some of his garden, which was super stressful. And so Steve's like, he's really good at this. But so gardener Jane Raymond, who will present a workshop on vegetable gardening. Any and all from the community are welcomed to attend and learn principles and practices for a successful vegetable garden. Learn how to plan a garden to produce lots of high quality vegetables. How to expend less energy on garden maintenance, and how to use fewer chemicals. Learn how to choose ideal location, how to prepare the garden site, what and how much to grow, the timing of planting, as well as harvesting and storage of vegetables. Coffee and light refreshments are provided. So I probably will check this out because I could certainly learn more. I know a little bit about gardening as I'm trying to get into it more, and I'd recommend anybody, like I said many times, like even if you have an apartment, like you can grow tomatoes, like you put them out on your porch or whatever, as long as they get sunlight and like they can grow them and they'll save you some money at the grocery store. It's a good project for kids. My 3-year-old's all excited, like we need to plant later today all of our seeds and put it in our little greenhouse that we bought at Ocean Stay. It was like $75. You like strapped it down better because the day we put it up, we'd hooked it down. But then the next afternoon we came back from whatever we're doing, it was down in the woods, so we got to strap it down better. But so if you're looking even for like a little greenhouse, that was pretty inexpensive. It was like $75, and you put a lot of vegetables and stuff in this thing, or anything, doesn't matter, plant anything you want to grow, you can put in this thing, flowers, whatever. It's cheap money. It's pretty solidly constructed. It was a really windy day and it kind of took off. So yeah, take advantage of this workshop. It didn't say anything about a charge, so I am assuming there's probably no charge. Most things at the Library Arts Center or the Richards Free Library come at no cost. So yeah, if you're interested in this, check this out. It's a 2-hour workshop on May 4th. We'll talk more about it, next week too, to remind people about it. And maybe me and Steve will go and check it out too. I probably will myself, just because there's like little tricks and stuff that these people know that I don't. So what else? Tomorrow, another thing. A lot of things happening tomorrow. Rabies clinic, cats and dogs welcome, $10 a shot, from 9 to 1. First come, first serve. It's at the Masonic Temple, 40 Maple Ave in Claremont. And then your shots are good for 3 years if you have a previous vaccination for your animal. If not, they're good for a year, and then you'd have to come back the following year, and then it's good for 3 years. So, good opportunity just to walk in, boom, do the animal thing. You don't have to make an appointment with a vet or anything. You just go in and do it. These things have, like the fire department, I used to be on Croydon Fire Department, and used to do one of these every year, and they're really successful. A lot of people came out, and, it's just easy. You're in and out in a quick amount of time, and if you have a dog that's maybe more aggressive and doesn't get along with other animals very well, oftentimes you just go in and say, hey, Brutus is in the back of the truck and he doesn't really like other dogs. Can you just come out? And most of the time the vet would just come out and give the dog the shot right there. And so they've always been good with that kind of stuff. So if you're considering getting if you need to get your animal a rabies shot, go for it. Tomorrow, 9 to 1. So, and then the last thing, next Sunday, right after Steve gets back, Newport Green Up Cleanup Day, 9 a.m. So you go down the common, you let PJ and the staff know, hey, I'll do this road, provided someone hasn't already taken that road, because it would make sense for 2 people to do it. Then you just pick a road, it's a big map of Newport, and they give you the bags, they give you the gloves, they give you a shirt, provide you there early enough, and then at noon, usually you go back to the rec center, and then last year, they had pizza for everybody. It's just a great way to give back to the community. It's super easy. We did all Barton Whitney Road last year. There was a group of, my family, Steve and his wife Nikki, and I'm trying to think which kids, like 3 of our kids, I think. So yeah, there was like 8 of us say that did this, and took 3 hours to go from the corner of Blueberry and Barton Whitney down to Route 11, but couldn't believe the amount of trash. It was pretty crazy. We kind of joke about it. It's like Twisted Tea cleanup day because the cans of Twisted Tea this road is very common for it, and Bud Light cans, which I'm curious to see if that'll change after their whole advertising campaign. But yeah, if you're able to and you can get out, and this is a great way to give back to the community. Like I said, it's super simple. It's not gross. I mean, you can even take like a steak and like poke the stuff with a steak and pick it up. You don't have to touch it, but they give you gloves and stuff too. They're actually good gloves last year too. You could wear them like the whole time because your hands get really sweaty. But that's next Sunday. Starts at 9, goes till noon. It's a great way to give back to your community, and we really enjoyed it, and you feel really good at the end of the day because you've actually accomplished something. And you drive up the road usually for a couple of days, and PJ comes by and picks them up, but you'll see all these blue bags all around town, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of trash that gets thrown out, and it's great for us to pick it up, so make our community nicer. That is most of my local good kind of stuff. So back to the selectmen's meeting. So I didn't go to the meeting on Monday night. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It really depends on what else I have going on. I think I had softball practice until 5:30, so I've been pretty busy lately, so it's a little tougher to go to some of these things. But so one of the things that was discussed is like the common, and I guess some of the issue that's been happening down the common is on I believe it's Park Street side, the post office side. Those trees, people will like park in there, like so they kind of pull off on the grass, and maybe they're unloading stuff for the farmers market or the apple pie craft fair, or any other event that may be happening on the common. And I guess it's harming the trees because the trees' roots are close to the surface right there, or whatever. So to me, it seems like a simple fix. Okay, no cars park over there anymore. If you need to pull on the common because you may have heavy things or whatever, or one lady was there that brings donkeys out, and it's like a nonprofit. She brings her horse trailer out onto the common, and then she works out of that, and then she walks around the donkeys, and it's a great way she gives back to the community, and it's like a therapy thing for many people, and so it's a great cause. So it just was weird because if you watch the meetings lately, it just seems like the board's trying to take more and more things away from Newport that are like things we've always done. And I'm not saying that they're trying to take away necessarily anything, but it kind of felt like, okay, no more cars on the common. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Some people need to put their cars on the common. And one thing that I was very grateful for is Biddy Irwin showed up, and I want to reach out to her because she went through like 10 years worth of town reports, and she found in 1975 that if they want to make any major changes to the common, it has to go to the vote of the people. So at town meeting, they'd have to have something that says, we would like to do X and get permission from the community. Thank God she found that, because if not, we'd probably have these quote-unquote temporary barrier things down there, and who knows what the common will look like right now, honestly. So very, very thankful to Biddy Irwin for finding this, and she found some other things too that were interesting. And so the good thing was, like, she pretty much shut that down. It's like, well, no, you're not going to put temporary barriers out on that side either because it violates the vote of the people in 1975. So you can't legally, and which was great. And because they talked about, well, like, put some sort of curbing out there to keep people off. And then Doug Ring made a very smart comment. He's like, so if you're going to put curving in, you're going to dig down, 12 inches to put curbing in, which is going to cut right into those roots and those trees you're trying to protect, which would do the complete opposite, would actually destroy the tree, which is what you're trying to do to keep the tree from dying. Wouldn't make much sense, which I thought, boy, that's pretty damn smart. I wasn't even really thinking that, like, oh, wait a minute, you can't put curbing out there, you're going to dig into the roots. So I think they kind of decided that they would let some people go in, like, down by the skating rink area down that side and come up, whatever. But it just felt like, and it's been feeling like lately, that like more and more of the town is trying to either like change things or take away some. It doesn't. There's been a lot of things about the apple pie craft fair this year that has been discussed at the meetings. I'm like, this is a huge event for Newport, and I don't understand what the issue is. You should wholeheartedly support this and say, we will help you in any way. It's the other thing was like, well, do we want to pay our staff to set up, the areas for everybody? And there was discussion on that, and that wasn't this wasn't Monday's night meeting. I think it was the meeting before that. And yeah, it's just part of it. Like, we pay taxes in this town. This is an event put on by the Richards Free Library, which greatly benefits this town. Like, Steven Tyler often goes to this thing, which, I mean, everyone knows Steven Tyler, lead singer Aerosmith. Like, it's a big event. It's like the biggest event Newport typically does. And it just feels like more and more like they're trying to take more and more things away from the community. And I could be wrong, but if you watch the meetings, like I do, whether you're in the room, you watch them on TV, like, please, if you disagree with me, please reach out. I'm like, no, I don't see that at all. Because it just seems like more and more they're trying to put obstacles up to make it harder to do things where, like, previously when Brent Wilmot was on the show, and when he was the chief of Newport, he's like, oh, I love Newport because it's a yes town. PJ comes and says, hey, I want to do this. It's always yes, and we'll find a way to do it, no problem. Whereas like other towns, Claremont, whatever, it's like it's always no, and you have to fight your way to get a yes. Well, Newport's not that way. It's like, yeah, absolutely, it's good for the community. Let's do it. It seems like that's changing, and maybe I'm wrong. And feel free to reach out. I'm like, nah, I don't think that's it, Tim. I see it differently. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Tell me how you see it, because I could be wrong. And but if you watch the meetings, it just seems more and more like they want less communication from their residents, and they want to just do more of their own thing, which they're all voted members, and they are all elected by us to represent us. So they work for us, just like I work for you on the school board. Now, that doesn't mean every person comes in and, Tim, you work for me, and this is what you're going to do. No, because you got to weigh, okay, what's best for the community. Maybe what's best for the community is not what's best for even myself, but you need to do what's best for the community. That's the whole purpose of it. And obviously, Hunter's an employee. He's hired by the select board. His bosses, Hunter's bosses, it's the select board, and that's it. He works for the taxpayers, of course, but he answers to the select board. And I just feel like there's some sort of disconnect here, and it's crazy too, because it's coming up on election. You have 5 people running. You have Barry Connell and you have Herb Teller, who are running for their positions again. You have Jeff North, Doug Ring, and Bert Spalding Sr. running for those positions. And I've offered to all the members, I just need to reach out to Barry personally. Herb was standing in last night for Jeff on the zoning board meeting, and I just said, hey, do you want to come on the show? And he's like, let me think about it. And I told him, like, listen, I'm not gonna bring anyone on here and beat him up and try to embarrass him, or I'm not gonna do that. I've honestly I've known Herb more than 25 years. I mean, I graduated with his sons. He's a good guy. He is. I can tell you that right now. He is a good guy. Do I agree with all the decisions he makes? No. Do I think we need change in town? Yes. Is that personal? No. But so I was just telling her, like, come on, we can talk about, things in town. Tell me about, whatever. I'm not gonna beat you up on the show and try to make it so people don't vote for you. Like, no, I just point out things I see in town. I won't stop doing that. But any of these people running are welcome to come on. So I know Jeff North has talked about he would like to come on. Doug Ring wanted to come on, and I'll reach out to Barry and see if he would. Bert said that he's not interested just because he's like, I don't advertise for myself. He says, it's just, you know who I am, and that's it. And honestly, I think Bert will easily get one of the positions because everybody knows what Bert does, and he doesn't like when things aren't done legally or transparently. And clearly, there's a lot of lack of transparency happening with that board. And so I wholeheartedly believe he will easily be one of those positions. And I respect that. He doesn't need to come on the show because nothing he's going to say on the show that anyone that knows him doesn't already know about him, that, hey, I don't like when things aren't legally done or whatever. So yeah, I've reached out. Like I said, Barry's the one I need to reach out to, and within the next 2 weeks, get him on the show before the vote, and they can talk about themselves, their platform of hey, this is what I want to do, whatever. And like I said, that's open to any of them that are running. And like I said, I'll be fair. I'm not gonna come with loaded questions. It's just gonna be the same old. Here's tell me about yourself. What do you accomplish when you're on the board? What do you think we need to do? Whatever, that kind of deal. Just so that people can make a decision too, because some people don't know. Like, I don't know who to vote for. There's 5 of them. There's 2 positions. Who do I vote for? Who do I vote for? I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I will give my opinion on the situation, or I will hopefully get these people all to come in and say, and then you make a decision for yourself. I'm not officially backing anybody. I don't need to. They all have their own thing, and they all kind of speak for themselves. And the only thing I've said is Newport needs change, and drastically from the more and more I see things. And Barry did. It's been noted on Facebook, and I got a private message from someone like, yeah, Barry's the one that spoke up on Monday night's meeting about something like, hey, what's going on here? And he spoke up a few different times. So I think a few things from the meeting, and I reached out to John Lunn. I'll just check my phone real quick to see if he had messaged me back. Yeah, so the meeting isn't up on the website yet. So I'm looking for the selectmen meeting for Monday night. So a few things that happened. They put open forum at the end. And the purpose, they said, for this was so that they can get through the town business before they get to the open forum, because oftentimes the open forum takes a while, whatever. For all the years that they've had open forum, which has been quite a few, it doesn't seem like that's been an issue. They just keep it where it is. Miss Urban showed up and read a letter to the board and voiced her, objection to the fact that they put this at the end, because, like she said, I have a grandchild at home that I need to go home and take care of, and this wasn't convenient for me to throw this at the end. It should be in the beginning where it always has been. And I agree. I just feel like, so they're putting it at the end because some other thing is, okay, we get through all the town business and it's late. Some people that might want to speak will just leave. Or it just sends the message to me that they don't want to hear from the people in town. And it's very disturbing if they feel like they don't need to listen to the people in town. And there was some comments on What's Up Newport, like they don't technically have to have open forum, which is correct. They don't technically have to have open forum by law. So the school board does, but the town doesn't, which is very interesting because they're both public entities. They both should have open forums. And, if the town had already done it at the end, no one would be questioning it. It's just they're putting it to the end so that they get through the business. And if realistically, if things get to where they don't want to deal with it anymore, they can just end the meeting, which is what they did. They, as in school boards around the country, did during COVID when they didn't want to listen to parents anymore. They would just end the meeting completely. So what they said is, we'll just put this last, we get through the business, and then at least we did what we had to do as a school board. But the state of New Hampshire said, no, you will make it first. It will be open for up to 1 hour with a minimum of 3 minutes per person to speak. And I applaud the state for that, because you should never shut down your citizens' free speech, and you should want to listen to your residents and their concerns, because you represent them. That is literally your job. That is your only job, is to represent them. If you're there for yourself, you shouldn't be there, because this isn't a what can I get out of it. This is what can I do to make my community better. So it's interesting. So during the meeting, Ms. Urban stood up. I can't remember now what she was talking about. Man, I wish I could. I was hoping I could check the meeting out, because there's some clips I want to take out of it. But one thing that was said during the meeting was by Hunter was if Mr. Boardman, Wayne Boardman, asked that a 91A request that his wife had not received yet, and Hunter was like he hadn't gotten it or whatever, and he said previous meetings, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, that all 91A requests have to go through the lawyer, and basically blame Bert because he threatened litigation, which he threatened litigation that if what they gave him was different than the county, then he was going to sue them because they're breaking the law and they're hiding stuff, the same stuff. And Bert literally has everything he needs, but he wants it from the town. And the town still hasn't given it to him, and it's been at this point like 85 days or something like that, which they have 5 under the law. So it's interesting. So Hunter says, well, no, she doesn't. They wouldn't run her 91A through the lawyer. She should just have it within the 5 days, which 2 meetings prior to that, he says all 91As are going to be run through the lawyer. And then Barry even followed that up and said, so all of them are going through. And Hunter's like, yes. So I'll make that clip at some point where he flip-flops on that. Because if you sit there and watch a meeting, you just watch the meeting, you can pick out all the things that happen in the meeting. Like, wait a minute, that's not what you said 20 minutes ago. Like, hello, keep your freaking story straight. Like, I get it. Sometimes you're talking about events and you might, like, I get it. Like, I don't always get every little thing right. But if I'm at a meeting, I'm not going to change something from, it's not black and white. Oh, so he says this, and the next meeting it's over here. And wait a minute, it's the complete opposite what you just said like a minute, either in this meeting or the previous meeting, or so there was that whole thing. And then Stevens had not received their letter yet, which a month ago they're supposed to write a letter that was an apology to them personally from Todd Cartier for writing a letter that basically disqualified them from that project on Sand Hill, and also a letter that's going to go to the New Hampshire DOT, letting the New Hampshire DOT know that there's actually nothing wrong with Stevens as a construction company, because currently, when their name comes up in the state's kind of like, there's been issues with them in Newport, even though in theory there was no issues in Newport. It was a fabricated bunch of BS. So they hadn't got the letter, and they finally, I guess, as of Tuesday, so this past Tuesday, by 3 o'clock, they're supposed to get the letter. I talked to Barrett last night, and he said, yeah, they got the letter, but it was just a complete bunch of shit. It didn't acknowledge the fact that they had done anything wrong as in the town, and it didn't, say that, Stevens was a good company, none of that. It just was like a BS, whatever letter, and then the apology from Todd, Todd didn't even write it. It was just a here's the whatever. Which I don't get it, and then, so here's the highlight from the meeting in my eyes, at least one other thing. So the previous school board meeting, or two meetings before, Jeff Kessler comes to the meeting and wants 91A, the plowing at the school, because he knows Stevens does that job and he wants the bid because I'm assuming in his mind, and I'm just assuming, he feels like the bidding process is, not legit. Well, he got his 91A request, and we've talked about it. Well, Bert talked about it at the meeting Monday night, but I believe I've talked about it either on the show and then we've talked about it before. But so it's a 3-year contract. There was only 2 bids. There was Stevens Construction, which was, or Stevens, K.A. Stevens, whatever. Their bid was like $24,000, whatever, for the 3 years for the snow removal. United Construction's bid was $100,000 for the 3 years. So obviously they're a quarter of the price. They got the job. Contract reads it's a 3-year contract, but they have an option to up it for 2 years as long as the school's happy. And Stevens sign on for the additional 2 years at no change to the price. So they literally did the job, with the cost and everything going up, they just kept the same price. So Josh called out Jeff at the meeting and said, hey, why would you go there and literally come after my company again? And he just says, well, he was angry, I guess. And so the board, the chair of the selectmen, is angry, so then goes to another board to target the same company that the town's been targeting for a year now. And what the hell is happening? I know Josh and I know Alyssa pretty well. I went to school with them. I've never been in their house, and I don't know them that well. Yeah, I could call Josh up. I have his phone number, but I'm not super close friends with him or anything like that. But I've had many conversations, and I know they're good people. He's done a lot of things at the school. Recently, they just did the softball field, which I am very impressed with the work. It looks great. I'm so happy for that. And we talked like, hey, you know, the outfield is pretty bumpy. You know, is there something we could do about that? And he's like, hey, you know what? Once the season's over, you know, I was like, hey, I have a rototill on track. I could rototill it if maybe you guys come in and like use your Harley rake and make it nice and smooth. And he's like, yeah, we totally talk about that. So, and he wasn't talking like, oh, so yeah, I could give you a bid for that. No, it's like we could come in and do something because that's what they do. They constantly do that with so many things at the school where it's like, hey, what can I do to help the community? They got the job to put in the bleachers. And he's like, hey, this is great, but this handicap, you don't have a ramp to get out here to this, any of this. Like, this isn't even going to work. So he took his own money and he put in a ramp. He paid for it. It wasn't part of the bid. It wasn't a change order. It was nothing. He just did it because that's what was best for the school and the community. Those are the things that happen all the time. And you can ask around and, you know, especially if you want to talk to the maintenance people at the school, whether it's Rodney or Dave, Dave will certainly talk to you. Dave likes to talk. So I asked Dave, hey, what's Steven's done around here that they haven't been paid for, but they just did it because they wanted to? And I guarantee you, he has a list. So this horrible company, as it would seems to be perceived from the select board town side of things, does all these things, and then the head of the selectmen come and say, hey, I want to 91A this. That's cool. And you can 91A anything, just like I can 91A anything. It's totally legit. I have no problem with it. And he was given the information. He didn't get it immediately because apparently he sent an email and it went to some, I don't know, there's some thing that no one knew about. But as soon as we were made aware of it, boom, he got it like he was supposed to within that 5 days, whatever. So Josh calls it out during the meeting. Like, why would you do that? Like, you could have gone there and said, hey, I'd like to, you know, see the bids on this or that, or I want to know about your bidding process. Or, no, you literally targeted Stevens Construction again. And I'm like, holy cow, like, is this real? Like, is this seriously happening right now? And are they so blinded they don't see it? Or Jeff, do you not see like what's happening here? I don't get it. And I feel bad for Stevens because if I was them, I would sue the living piss out of the freaking town of Newport, and they would win all day long. Because the things that are happening, they target them with posting a bridge, road, bridge, you know, depending who you ask, right? They posted it to hurt Stevens, and that's clearly, if you look at it, in the meetings, you look at any of it, they posted a bridge for 6 ton, a bridge that gets the highest rating the state offers on used bridges, and it was an 83,000 pound bridge, plus bridge, whatever. There's that. There's a Sandhill job. There's a $25,000 road opening permit on Maple Street, which is insane. The most I've ever paid in any town was $5,000 to open a road. And they try to say, oh, it's because the road was just paved. Yeah, the road was just paved. It cost $30,000 for Pike to pave that from the lights in Newport all the way up to the Maple Street corner there, which I was super happy when they did it. Hunter got a good deal on it, and the road was trash, and they made it, you know, it's a temporary thing, right? A couple years from now, it'll be junk again, but there's plans for that road, whatever. But so all these things keep happening, and they all circle around Jeff Kessler, Hunter, and Todd Cartier. And it's so funny because Todd Cartier still has a job. Hunter still has a job. Jeff's elected. He's got 2 years left. I promise you, Jeff, you will not be in that position in 2 years from now. Will I personally run against you, or I'm telling you, it won't happen. My guess is he'll resign at that point, but we'll see. Because I will bring everything up that's happening right here. You are not functioning in the capacity as a representative of the town as you should be, and you represent the voters. You have an agenda, which is apparently Hunter's agenda, and I hate to say it, you're a good man. It's not personal because I like working on the zoning board, and I don't have any personal issues with any of the board members, but clearly there's something happening here that's just not on the up and up and isn't how it should be. It's insane. Like, I don't get it. And they keep targeting Stevens Construction, and they have to keep going to the meeting, and and voicing their concerns, and then other residents voice their concerns, and they never get answers because you just don't get answers from that board, which has always been my complaint with the school board, not getting answers. And we've tried so hard to change it, so maybe you don't get the answer right down there, but I make sure, like, you'll get your answer next time, or hey, can I email you the answer, or whatever, because like that's how this works. It's transparency. And then here's another kicker that comes out of the meeting, and this is where Barry Connell said something, was, so apparently Dick Wenzel 91A'd some legal fees because the town's been spending almost $300,000 a year on legal fees. Over the last 5 years, it was 5 years, they spent more than $1 million in legal fees. And it's like, well, why do you need to spend so much money on legal fees? So Dick got his 91A request, and apparently every single thing on that invoice was redacted except for the date. Now, I'm sorry, if you 91A request something, you can't redact it. This isn't the freaking CIA, the federal government, where national security is at risk or whatever. So they redacted it. So if you spend X amount of money on such and such a case, how is that privileged information? It's not privileged information. It's not the town manager's lawyer or whatever. It's the town of Newport's lawyer. So they redacted this, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So basically, they have a useless piece of paper that has a date on it and redacted all the other information. So I'll ask the question again. Do these selectmen, and not all of them, right? It's not all of them, but does that board, is that town manager representing you, the community of Newport? Are they? Because I think sending you papers that were all redacted would really go against that. And Barry asked the question of why would it be redacted, and Hunter gave the answer, well, there could be reason. It's always blame somebody else. It's the lawyer's fault. I'm sure if you ask the lawyer why was this redacted, you'd probably be like, well, because the town manager thought we should redact this. That's just my opinion, but it's crazy. Like, everyone, you got to watch these meetings. You got to, you should show up to these meetings with really what you need to do, and you really need to ask questions, because apparently, according to What's Up Newport and Facebook, it's just a bunch of people in town, like a small group of, assholes in town, which my name would certainly be on there. Bert Spalding, apparently the Stevens, Wayne Boardman. These people that keep showing up and asking questions apparently are just a bunch of assholes that we don't have the same opinion as the rest of the town. It's just we're like this little outlaw group that has issues, and the rest of the town is just perfectly happy with everything that's happening. Well, I have news for you on the board. Guess what? It's not true. You don't have the majority in this town. You don't have the majority at all in this town. There's a minority of people that may agree with you, but the majority of the people, because they reach out to me all the time, and from people up here in positions to down here in positions to here to whatever, to citizens, all the time they reach out to me and say, hey, what the hell's going on here? What's this? What's that? They reach out to me because when they reach out to me, I don't attack them. I take their information. I hold their information confidential if they ask it to be confidential. And then I use it for my show or for, posts on Facebook or whatever. But you don't have the people in this community's support on all this. You should put a poll out right now. Who in Newport supports a town manager? Who in Newport, believes Todd Carter should be fired for fraud? Who in Newport thinks the Board of Selectmen are doing a good job? I don't think you'd like the results of that poll. I don't think you'd like the results of that poll at all. Now, like I said, I'm not saying every select board member is not doing a good job. So don't try that whole, Tim thinks the whole board sucks. At times I do feel like that, because I know there's a couple of members on there that I've had private conversations with that don't necessarily think the way that the meeting goes. Well, you need to speak up. Here's your time. I don't care if you're one vote. One vote matters. Bert Spalding was one vote for how many meetings in the school? And look at the results that Bert got himself with that. Everyone was pissed off. Menahan's leaving, whatever. The best thing that ever happened to Newport is Menahan leaving Newport. He did not do his job. He sucked at his job. And he resigned after he went to Fall Mountain. He resigned from there and moved away for personal reasons, which is fine. But, it's come out. Like, yeah, I was just here for the money, like the pension thing and whatever. And now you see the transparency. Bert did that himself. Bert got the town man, they got the superintendent quit. That was all on Bert. Bert, you ask Bert, he'll tell you. He was one vote. One vote. That's it. Out of 5 members. And you're right. One vote. It's not enough. You need 3. You need the majority. However, if you just sit there and you don't say things and you don't come out, harshly about things and say, no, I don't support this. I don't agree with this. You look like you're part of the problem. You look like you're complacent in everything and you're just going along with the whole thing like, whatever. So you might want to wake up, because every one of you are going to be up for election at some point. 2 of you up this year. We'll see what happens. Next year, Keith Sayer's up. And the year after that, Jim Burrows and Jeff Kessler are up. And I guess we'll see what happens. And, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these 2 board members on there get reelected and the people that are running against them get no votes or whatever. And, hey, prove me wrong. But I think you're going to see something a lot different. So I plan on I'm going to make a few clips probably over the weekend, as I like to do, just to show, because people like to say something and I catch it and not everyone catches it. I don't know. I'm pretty good with that stuff. I hear something, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what you just said. And I've been in business for myself long enough that, like, you don't get much by me. Like, sure, you can get some stuff by me, but I listen to things and I hear things and things don't make sense. And so I plan on making a few videos of the whole situation, and I'll put it out to the public, and the public can see it. And people will say, well, Tim, you're just being a jerk or whatever, you're going after these people. No, I'm just highlighting the things that they say. These are their words. I'm not putting anything in their mouth. I'm not making them speak nothing. These are literally the words they're saying. Jeff said, well, I was pissed off or I was mad or whatever the terminology used, and that's why I went to the school board meeting and that's why I asked for that stuff. Okay, so when you get mad, you go after the company that this town's been going after the last year and still hasn't even fixed this yet, because they gave them some bullshit letters that don't even acknowledge that they really did anything wrong, which I know you're all worried about lawsuits, so it's like I can't give you a letter that says that we literally did what everybody knows you did, which is Todd wrote a letter. He probably didn't write it. Hunter probably wrote it. This is the theory. Todd probably signed it, whatever. But nope. Todd still has a job. $100,000 a year, take-home vehicle and benefits. Superintendent makes $135,000 a year, no benefits, doesn't take benefits, doesn't get a take-home vehicle, runs the whole school district, has about 200 employees, responsibilities is insane, has degrees and all this education, and then head of DPW has at this point, I am now 5 employees. I don't know what number, because it used to be a lot, but between Todd and Hunter, they've run every employee off that we've had in town. So you can't keep help down there. So, but still has a job. $100,000 a year taxpayer money goes to a man that could give a shit about this community. And I'll back this up next week when I get another 91A request sent to me about a story that I've heard, that I just want to verify it with facts in front of me. So when I bring it forward, I know it's true, because I just went right to the source. But there's constant things in this town that are happening, and there's people being affected by this, and there's people not doing their job. Head of the DPW who still has a job, but $100,000 a year, take-home vehicle, full benefits. So you probably cost the town, $140,000 a year to not do your job, to write a letter that disqualify a company that was not true. It was fraud. They never did a bridge in Henniker. You lied to interfere with a bid, which I'm sure in some capacity is actually illegal. It's not just an ethics violation. It's probably illegal. You're interfering with a bid of a job, state-funded, town-funded job, so public money. Your letter very much disqualified that company, and then the town tries to blame it. The town, as in Hunter, tries to blame it on the DOT. Obviously, you've all seen my little 12-second clip of him lying about that right at a meeting recently, when Steven says, so the state made the decision. That's correct. And then I showed the letter to the people on what's up Newport that nope, that's not true. The town makes the decision. It's the town's decision who does the bridge. And there's more jobs coming up in Newport, and I'm just curious if Steve wants to get a shot at it, or will they get blackballed for that as well? So, interesting things. Please email into the show, timandsteveshownh@gmail.com. Questions, concerns, comments, things you see, things you know. I had someone email me something at one point, and it's crazy the things people know, and you think it's just a rumor, but then you hear it from somewhere else, and it's like, here to here now, it's probably a good chance it's extremely true. It's amazing how that seems to happen more and more. But thank you for watching the show. Steve will be back at the end of next week, so you'll have one more week with me, but I'm going to have some guests in next week too. I'm trying to get the select board members to come in that are up for election, and the candidates. So Barry, Herb, Jeff, and Doug. Jeff and Doug have already said, yeah, they want to come on. We'll see what the other two want to do. They're welcome to come on. Come on, don't come on. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to ask you all these questions like, hey, why'd you do this? I won't. I'll just let them talk about themselves, what they want to do. And, I may ask a few small questions, but I don't want to, they can do their thing. And you will make a decision out there based off of what you think's best and the way they speak and answer questions and whatever, and you can make the decision. I'm not trying to force anyone to make any decisions besides to just open your eyes and watch and see what's happening all around you. So thanks for watching the Tim and Steve Show, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you.